not on qualifying teams automatically advance to NXN. Teams from Iowa, Kansas, Minnesota, Nebraska, North Dakota, host South Dakota, and Wisconsin are all here. Course record, only a year old, and the course record holder is out here on the course today. Robert Matura ran 14:32 flat a year ago, and we saw it. Manny Puts talking about that opening mile of 4:30, so we'll see how the racing goes today, as it went really quick off the line last year.
And Paul, one thing to note is these guys will have the longest rest time between NXR and NXN because all the championship races from the other regions are in the next couple of weeks. Poots, even though he was second in NXR, was the top NXN finisher. He finished 5th. Matura was 20th, and Gonzalez 43rd in the national championship. That's the last time they've raced against each other on a cross-country course.
Minnesota has sent a team to Portland every year since the inception of Nike Cross Nationals in 2004, except for 1 year in 2012. They've done 9 in a row and trying to add another team to NXN if they can get them in the top 2 here today as we get set for racing at the Heartland region. The 2024 Nike Cross Regionals is underway. 3 weekends of action starting here in the Heartland with the boys championship at 5K.
And I'm very interested to see how this is going to go at the start, Paul, because it is windy out there. Poots, Matura, Gonzalez are all seniors. They all know this course. How are they going to run this race? And that is going to be what's going to be very, very intriguing.
And they have that familiarity with each other, having run against each other a year ago here in the Heartland. But we always note in these championship season caliber races, we've got a lot of kids coming off winning their respective state titles, but now they're looking left and looking right and seeing other state champions in the mix. This is an equalizer for a lot of these top kids who have not maybe been tested much all season.
Yeah, and I'm pretty excited to see that Gonzalez there in the white and Poots in the black and white are right up there at the front. Haven't caught eyes yet on Matura, but at least 2 of our favorites are up there, as is Carter Klein, a senior, 1741. He's the nominal leader at this point.
Yeah, Klein coming off a 3rd place finish at the Kansas 6A classification. We look high above, just maybe a couple of strides ahead of the field. So inserting a little bit of pace here early in the boys championship race at Nike Cross Regionals Heartland.
And Poots right up there now, just a stride behind Klein, and Gonzalez right on Poots' shoulder. By the way, a shout out to our drone operator, Robert Rosenberg, who's just been giving us pictures like you read about all day long that are absolutely the perfect pictures to show relationship shots in this race.
See bib number 296, Will Immels out of Bismarck by way of Boise. We often see familiar last names in a lot of these races, next generation runners.
You know what? His father, Corey, was the national cross-country champion in 1991, sub 4-minute miler, and his sister has won 2 different state titles, one in Idaho last year and one in North Dakota this year.
And we'll see Ruby coming up here later on. She actually won the North Dakota Class A championship by 80 seconds this year, but cheering on her brother here in the early going. As you look in the lower left of your screen, the course tracker presented by Athletic gives you a sense of where they are out on this course, going around the outside edges of the soccer tournament fields here in Sioux Falls. And then on the very bottom of your screen, you kind of see the undulations of the elevation tracker that we have for you as well, added to our coverage here in 2024. Gives you a little sense. It's fairly flat though, Tom.
It is.
Maybe with just a couple of little hills in between.
And there's a hairpin turn very close to the finish, and that hairpin turn, I think, if we expect this race to be as close as it could be a deciding factor. I don't see Matura. He's got to be somewhere back there, but I don't see him.
On the right side of your screen in the sunglasses, 50-44, that's Grady Len, who is the runner-up to putts in the Wisconsin State meet. Here's one of the turns as we go back high above on our drone coverage, coming through here about a minute or so away from reaching that first mile split. At that point, we'll start to populate the left side of your screen with the current standings as well as the current team standings.
And to your point about Grady Len, he was the #1 sophomore in this region last year. He's the one with the sunglasses. He was 9th overall. He's won 8 of 9 races this year. His only loss was to Poots at State. And he's a definite factor in this race, to be sure.
See, they're coming up to one left turn before they hit the mile mark. Great crowd assembled. The race within the race, the crowd going from one side of this turn to the other as they cheer on their favorite teams and individuals, but settling into the pace here, and it has still been Carter Klein who's kind of leading things here at the front, though puts comfortably there adjacent to him as they make the turn, and they'll reach the mile mark here momentarily. Again, it was 4:30 in the first mile a year ago. Looks a little softer here by much as they go over the timing mats here at 4:37 with Klein, Putz, Gonzalez, Len, Keegan Decker, Will Immels, Max Larson, and Ethan Zuber. And we're trying to look down the list here.
Where's Matura?
As Matura is back in 21st position there at the bottom of your screen.
There he is. He's 5 seconds back. So we have to see. He's the defending champion. He's the course record holder at 14:32 flat. That mile, as you said, a little bit conservative, and you can tell because there's a big pack. You wouldn't have expected a big pack when you've got 3 of the top 7 runners in the country. And so we knew the pace was a little bit slow. Now Poots is starting to, and we saw this in some of the earlier races, if the first mile pace was slow, there was somebody that would go out there upon hearing what that split was and really start to make a move, and that may be what Poots is doing. Meanwhile, Gonzalez just holding his line there. He's in the white. Len there on the right. Klein a bit of a surprise. Nice to see Will Immels holding up the family tradition there in the top 10. And as we look at the team standings, Paul, boy, Spring Hill, who is the nominal favorite, they're in second. The Demon cross-country team in first, but still very sort of wide open, I would think, here.
As they get their 5 runners across the line for those scoring positions. We get back to the racing here, front and center. Just past 6 minutes elapsed on this clock over a 5,000-meter distance. And Manny Putz, second to Matura last year by just a 1/10 of a second, coming off his 3rd straight Division I title in Wisconsin. He also performed very well on the biggest of stages last year at Nike Cross Nationals, finishing in 5th position for All-American honors, and now has taken to the lead over Carter Klein, who led at the first mile mark, but he's now back there in 4th. And Grady Len in pursuit here in 2nd, with Gonzalez there in 3rd.
And there's a bit of separation now. Don't forget that Poots, 5th at Nike Cross Nationals last year in those horrible conditions at Glendiver Golf Course. He's a 4:12, 1,600-meter runner, 8:53, 3,200-meter runner. Won his state meet in the 1,600 and 3,200. You don't want to be getting into a kicker's race with him. That's Southgate, Michigan, by the way, that is our Demons team that leads. They were nowhere on the kind of the dope sheet ahead of this race, but we'll see how this whole thing transpires.
So Putz makes the turn. Len in 2nd, followed by Gonzalez and then Ethan Zuber, 2-time Iowa 4A state champion, who was 3rd at Roy Griak earlier this year, when we saw many of these, including Matura, racing out of the course. As we go up high above there, you can see this lead group beginning to thin just a little bit, with about 4 there in the first pack, and then a single runner in 5th, and then back to a chase pack, which we assume probably includes Matura at this point, but we'll get confirmation of that when they reach the 2-mile mark.
He needs to get on his bicycle and go at this point, Paul, because there is separation. One thing about this race is that if you're not kind of in that lead pack early on, it's very difficult to kind of get yourself back up.
Yeah, I think Matura is working his way back up. 31-16. He looks like he's back there in about 5th position now.
Yep, there he is, right there in the middle. Good eye by you. Right there in the middle of that pack is Matura in the white. And you can see him now. And he looks comfortable. So we have all of our protagonists up there. And you mentioned Zuber, too. Zuber was the Iowa 4A cross-country champion both this year and last year. He was 43rd in this race last year, and he has 155, 800 meters, 409, 1600 meter speed. So you don't want to be in a kicker's race with Ethan Zuber either.
Well, you mentioned at the outset of this broadcast what a great equalizer this race is for some of the top athletes in the region, and for Putz, Gonzalez, and Matura there on the left side of your screen. They all come into this race undefeated in 2024, and something has to give here as they move through, coming up on the 2-mile mark, so well through halfway now. And that group now that, number 6 at the front here, getting themselves through the 2-mile mark here shortly.
Surprisingly tactical. Surprisingly tactical. I thought those three would kind of pull away.
And 4:48 on that second mile, so even slower on that second mile, and gearing up now for a kicker's race with Putz, Len, Matura, Gonzalez, Zuber, Sean Fries, who we haven't talked about from Minnetonka, is back there kind of side by side with Zuber. Sal Worth of Eagle Creek, Carter Klein still in the top 10, Kanan Dunham, who has come into this race as the Iowa 3A runner-up, no worse than second this year. He was 22nd in this race a year ago, and then Ethan Olds of Stevens Point rounding out the top 10. We'll keep an eye on those team scores up above. Absolutely. 2 now trying to populate up to number 5, so they go deep and get their score. Again, only the top 2 will automatically advance to Nike Cross Nationals.
So if we're looking at kicks here, Zuber with that 155 speed could be very much a factor. You do not want to let a guy like that be in the lead pack towards the end. Manny Poots has been right there in front, looks comfortable. Matura had to work his way up. Gonzalez kicked early last year and will not probably make that mistake again this year. But this is going to be a very, very interesting finish, and will go along with the past 2 years when we had spectacular finishes.
And Tom, how about on the team side? Spring Hill now into the lead.
And there you go, the Kansas State champion doing a great job and kind of moving up from mile 2 to mile 1. Logan Beckman in 11th right now, leading Spring Hill's charge, and then Dagan True in 28th. So they moved up well. Kalen George in 38 is their number 3 runner. This is a great shot from the Gator. This is just a terrific shot of these guys. You can look at their faces. Poots looks very, very confident and comfortable there. He has consistently taken the outside line on this entire course today.
Well, if you look at the far right of that course tracker, you can just sort of see that switchback that comes into play at the end of the race. Yes. That's where we saw a lot of the strategy get employed by Matura last year in a great 3-man race to the finish along with Putz and Gonzalez. Putz now putting a little bit of pressure here and an insertion of pace here as he's trying to elongate the strides, going to the arm and trying to beat down this group that's chasing him as he tries to win a Heartland championship.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Matura, too, our defending champion. You know, it's defending champions are pretty hungry about coming back and winning again. And that hairpin turn that we're going to see, I think that could definitely end up being a decider. We've got a break here now. It looks like it's just those 4. Matura right in, sneaking behind Gonzalez, Poots, and then looking around. Never a good sign is Grady Len. And Len is starting to fall back.
Yeah, Len trying to really keep up with Matura right now, but he cannot stay in contact with him. Matura trying to gain or regain contact with Putz, and Gonzalez there on the outside. So rewind it back to a year ago when these 3 were going to come into the final stages to race for a Heartland championship. Len not necessarily out of it yet, but they're coming up to this big turn where they're all going to have to make not necessarily a hard stop, but it will be a tough turn, and that will be the turn for home.
That's right. That's the Heartland hairpin. And Gonzalez, he made that move a little bit too early last year. So which of these 3 guys is going to – Matura really came on. Remember, Matura was in 3rd for a lot of it last year. So what we're seeing is which is really kind of amazing, Paul. 1 year later, the same 3 guys, and Len kind of looking around, maybe not as comfortable as the other 3. Gonzalez looks awfully good, though, there, 13.77 in the white.
As the Gator begins to make its turn, Putz has the inside positioning there. Matura sitting there on the backside, hoping maybe Putz and Gonzalez are going too much toe-to-toe and can take advantage of them here in the later going. Putz now to the lead as they come now here nearing the turn.
There it is, the turn, and there goes Putz.
Yeah, Putz took it way wide this time. Now goes to the arms. Gonzalez and Matura land in fourth.
Matura looks pretty good. I wouldn't be surprised to see if we see another Matura miracle here at the end. And Matura really going to the arms. Let's see what happens in this next half minute or so.
Well, the finish line's coming into sight here shortly. Manny Putz, he said he went back and watched the race from a year ago 10 times. Can he hold off Gonzalez and Matura here in 2024? Manny Putz, Gonzalez, Matura on the outside. Matura challenging Gonzalez. Now Gonzalez goes to the lead. And it's Putz and Gonzalez. And this time, Juan Gonzalez takes the Heartland over Putz and Matura.
That is about as good a race as you can get, Paul. And Gonzalez redid history a little bit. Last year he went too soon. Today, he rectified that situation, timed his kick extraordinarily well.
Little over 2 seconds off that course record from last year by Matura. Putz finishes second, 0.8 of a second behind, and Matura third, 0.9 of a second behind. So top three all under 2 seconds within each other. Grady Len will finish fourth, Ethan Olds in fifth, and now here comes the chaos to the finish to try to get a couple of teams qualified for Nike Cross Nationals as well, as they'll wait to get their 5 scoring members across the line here shortly.
Spring Hill, nice job. Logan Beckman in 10th. Dagan True knocked off 8 runners in the last mile to take 20th. This Kansas team really came to play here today, and that's a good 1-2 for them. Very good 1-2. So we'll see how that plays out here when we've got 111 finishers so far. So in the team standings, still waiting for everybody's 5 to cross.
Well, and how many times in cross country do you see the 4th or 5th runner coming through and getting their team up and into position to take it? These are unofficial scores as they populate. Spring Hill currently unofficially the leader. They're removing those unattached runners. That's why we're seeing the scores changing in a dynamic fashion. So Spring Hill right now with 47 points, now 64 points. The Patriots trying to hold off Demon, it would appear, here for that second automatic qualifier. The margin now 14 as the finishers continue to push through the corral.
Paul, I saw a look on Juan Gonzalez's face in that last stretch where I think he just knew he had it. He felt like he could, by looking at his face, like, I know I've got this, nobody's going to pass me. It was kind of a beatific look, and just was such an impressive performance.
Last year it was Matura, followed by Putz and Gonzalez. This year it's Gonzalez, followed by Putz and Matura, as those three coming into this race undefeated, lived up to the hype, and took everything down to the last 50 meters of racing, with Juan Gonzalez taking the victory here in 14:34.3. And he's now joined at the finish line by Kenneth Rooks.
Awesome. It's awesome to be here today with Juan Gonzalez. How are you feeling, Juan, after that win?
Amazing. I feel incredible.
Dude, what was going through your mind that last finishing stretch when you made it up to the hairpin, you turned around, and then you had a crazy kick to finish that off? How'd you feel about what was going through your mind?
I was saying to myself, last year, I don't know if you guys watched it, but I went way too early. So this year I was like, just gotta stay patient, wait for him to make the move or whoever else is with me. And then I just knew I had the extra gear in me, so I just waited patiently and waited for the right moment. Like, I watched guys like, Jackson Hydish and like Robert, even like last year, just watching how they made the move and when they made it. I just had to tell myself to, be as patient as they were.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how you feeling going into NXN? What are your thoughts for that?
I just want to go out there and just give it my all, and represent, my team Fremont and, the Heartland region. And yeah, this is kind of a big confidence booster for me, and I'm just excited to go out there and show them what I am.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being with us today. Congratulations again. We're going to send it back to you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kenneth, a man who knows a little bit about coming from behind in the last stages as he had that incredible last 600 meters on the purple track in Paris to get himself onto the podium for Team USA in the 3,000 meter steeplechase. But as we look back on this race, Tom, it's great to see when the pre-race favorites live up to the hype, and they did it again here in 2024.
They sure did. 3 years in a row of fantastic finishes. This region has got something special going on. Manny Poot's always at the front, and Matura had to come from so far back after that first mile, Paul. Maybe that was an effort that was difficult for him. And then at the race, you can look at Gonzalez here. He's just so relaxed. Poot's driving a little bit more, but Gonzalez looks so much more comfortable. And then watch the turnover on Gonzalez. Those long strides, but the long turnover. Listen to the arm action for Gonzalez as well. And just exploded down the straight. These are great replays. But look at Gonzalez's face. That's a face of determination. That's a beatific look. That's a look that nobody is going to pass me today, and this is my day this year.
And so Juan Gonzalez will lead the 5 qualifiers out of the individuals from the Heartland regions to Nike Cross Nationals, along with Manny Putz, Robert Matura, Grady Len, and Ethan Olds. As that wraps up the individual racing at the front of the pack. But obviously the big part of this story is the team result as well, and Kenneth Rooks is with the winning squad from Spring Hill.
Hey, congrats to you guys getting the team win today. That was a super tough race. It's exciting. How you all feeling? Getting ready, going to NXN, qualifying for NXN.
Absolutely unreal. That really hurt, but I don't care. It's really awesome now.
Yeah. How did you guys work together as a team to get that done today?
I think everyone just knowing that they had a part to play in the win today, and everyone knew what they had to do, and they had to go out and compete, even though it was really hard and lots of competition. But at the end of the day, we knew what we wanted, and we wanted to go get it.
Dude, that's awesome. So, how are you guys going to celebrate?
I want to go to Crumble Cookie, but I'm gluten-free, so I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, that's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, I heard there's somebody who wants to give a shout out. You want to give a shout out here?
Shout out to Mr. Link Luttrell. You're my favorite superintendent, and I love your Twitter.
Yep.
Shout out Donna True if you're watching this. Congratulations on being a grandma, and thank you.
Awesome. Great. Well, congratulations, you guys. Okay, we'll send it back. Back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Kenneth. Maybe an NIL deal for Crumble Cookies for that young man. Nice job.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Team results.
Yes, so Spring Hill came in #1 seeded team. They won. Now, Sioux Falls Lincoln, they won their state by 84 points. That was not an aberration. They had a great day today. They will be going to Glendiver Golf Course on December 7th. Joseph Levesque led them. They were a bit tightly packed. Levesque 38th, Miles Lechtenberg 41st, and that led Sioux Falls Lincoln, in effect, the #2 team, the SFL Patriots, to the second automatic berth, just 10 points behind Spring Hill.
Just 10 points behind. Demon Cross Country finishing in 3rd. If they were to advance to NXN, they would have to get that as an at-large selection, and those decisions will be made at the conclusion of the 3 weekends of racing. Well, still more to come. We've got a girls' championship race on the other side of the commercial break. You're watching live.